Centre of Athens. He joins me now via Skype. Thanks very much for joining us. A lot of violence. Who was behind it, do you think?
So basically common understanding that these are para-governmental forces that just aim to disrupt peaceful protests.
What evidence do you have for that?
Well, the evidence is it's based on facts. I'm not going to go into rumors saying that the police are behind it or anyone's behind it. I mean, the fact is that there's a very small group of people, a fraction of the protesters that have managed to grab everyone's attention. The Prime Minister keeps calling for calm. Everyone is calm. You know, the only people that are not calm are the politicians and the group of 50 people so that are causing these things.
And yet those images obviously have gone round the world and they suggest that people will not support any further cuts. Is that what you believe?
Well, to be honest, the people will not support any further cuts because they haven't been given any signs that their governments and their parliaments are able to, make correct decisions. For example, you mentioned the minimum wage. How is the public purse alleviated by lowering the minimum wage? That's a private sector matter. It has nothing to do with the government.
Can I just ask you specifically, sorry to interrupt, can I just ask you specifically, how have the cuts affected you and your family?
Well, they've affected everyone. Liquidity, everyone is spending basically their money trying to keep up with the new taxation, trying to keep up with the VAT on the extra VAT that's been put on the bills. There's so many special measures being brought in that everyone's salary is just going to pay for tax. Basically, there's no disposable income. There's nothing to keep the afloat.
Do you think now that Greece should stay in the euro? I mean, do you want it to leave? Do you want national currency back?
No, absolutely no. I mean, the euro it was a one-way road. When we entered, it was not a matter of entering and then leaving when and where you please. No one in Greece in their right mind objects to being in the euro. What they object to is our government basically making mindless policies. We don't expect sympathy from the Europeans. We don't expect sympathy from the taxpayers in Europe that are giving us money.
Okay.
And we don't accept. Okay.
Sorry to interrupt. Vivos Simonidis, I think we'll have to leave it there. I know you work in the tourism industry, which has also, of course, been affected in Greece at the moment. But thanks very much for your timing. Just one voice there from Athens. Jamie, a huge amount of frustration, obviously evident on the streets. No matter what the government says that it has agreed now, will they be able to take people with them?
Well, I think until they can find some sort of growth within the economy, I think not. I think people will find it very difficult to take the kind of austerity which has been imposed upon it. And it's quite interesting what was being said there about when they were saying, well, we can understand perhaps increasing taxes and perhaps reducing public expenditure, but why reduce the private sector minimum wage? Why do that? Well, what the government is saying is that by reducing the minimum wage, you may bring down wages in Greece and make Greece more competitive and therefore allow more businesses to come in, more investment in Greece, and consequently allow it to grow a bit. Also, the same they're talking about is more labour reform, which will take time, but they hope that by opening up many of the industries, legal industry, the pharmaceuticals industry, other areas of which have been protected or at least have been not allowed to compete freely, by doing that they will increase competition and then allow some growth. However, these things will take time, and it is not absolutely certain, even though these have been ratified by the Parliament, whether they will actually be effectively implemented.
Exactly. And what are the immediate next steps?
Well, the next step is that, of course, we're going to go to this has got to be approved by the European Union, and so the 130 billion euro loan will come through. Also, we still have got to have it signed by the heads of the various parties in Greece. saying that they will continue to carry through these plans even after the next election, whoever wins the next election. That has not been done yet, and it'll be very interesting to see whether they do actually sign that and say, yes, we will continue these austerity plans, whatever the political scenario.
Exactly, even if there are elections, of course. Jamie, thanks very much indeed. Now, Pakistan's Prime Minister Yusuf Raza Gilani has been charged with contempt by the Supreme Court in Islamabad. He pleaded not guilty. He was indicted for refusing to reopen corruption cases against President Zardari. Mr. Gilani argues that the president has immunity from prosecution. If convicted, the Prime Minister could be jailed for up to 6 months and lose his job. Our correspondent Ali Maqbool was at the hearing in Islamabad and he told us what happened in court.
Well, the crisis is continuing and is set to continue for some time yet, but the Prime Minister appeared in court, in the Supreme Court, behind me for about an hour or so, and things went pretty much as expected. He was indicted, charged with contempt, and as expected, he entered a plea of not guilty. This all centers around a judgment that the Supreme Court made a couple of years ago. Then it ordered the Prime Minister to send a letter to the Swiss authorities to reopen corruption cases against the President Asif Ali Zardari. He hasn't done that, and that's why these proceedings have begun.
And how long is it going to take to resolve this? Mr. Gilani obviously hoping to stay in his position whilst he fights this case.
Well, it is very difficult to say how long it will take, but the defense team, his defense team, will get a chance to put their case forward at the end of this month. They will argue that actually the Prime Minister was in the right because he believed he had legal advice to say the President enjoyed immunity. So there was no point in writing that letter and getting those cases reopened against the President. But the Supreme Court is still pretty much entrenched. Both sides are pretty much entrenched. It's difficult to see how either side will back down. So we can still see potentially a day where he is convicted, the Prime Minister, and he could, as you say, get a jail term. He would certainly lose his job, or he would be asked to step down if he was convicted. But this wrangle goes on, and while it does, there are real concerns in Pakistan about what's going on in terms of the business of actually governing this country.
Ali Maqbool there in Islamabad. Some breaking news now. The Taliban in Afghanistan have announced the death of one of their former top leaders, Mullah Ubaidullah Akhund. He served as defense minister in the Taliban government before it was overthrown in 2001 and as a prominent military commander afterwards. Well, he'd been in jail in Pakistan since 2008, and the Taliban said that Mullah Ubaidullah's family have been told recently by the Pakistani authorities that he died of a heart-related illness in 2010. The Taliban is thought to have previously insisted on this man's release as any precondition for talks with the Afghan government, so that's possibly one reason why this is significant. The Los Angeles coroner has said that foul play is not suspected in the death who was found dead in a bath in the Beverly Hilton Hotel on Saturday afternoon. The Grammys turned into an impromptu memorial for the singer, with stars at the music awards ceremony paying their tributes, as Alistair reports.
Grammy Awards for
LL Cool J.
It's an annual celebration of the biggest names in music.